could a Vader show happen on Disney Plus, or is that too far-fetched? So if you haven't seen our last video, it was about, well, it was the first video that we made on the Kenobi finale, and I thought the finale was absolutely amazing. But if you want to go check that video out, which was about Vader, how he lost the fight to Obi-Wan, go check that out, then come back and watch this video. But today's video is going to be about how Vader could have a Disney Plus show. Maybe, well, we're going to talk about it today on what could happen in that show, and the things that I don't want to happen in it, and maybe the things I do want to happen in it. Because I think the stuff that shouldn't happen in this show, if they do it, because there has been recent reports that they could be doing it, and obviously with a Kenobi season 2 on the horizon, I think that a Vader show could definitely happen with Hayden Christensen coming back. But I think there is a lot that shouldn't happen in this show, because it could definitely affect canon. I think with the Kenobi show, I definitely think that they could have affected canon way worse than what they did. And I think they did a really good job in doing good for the canon. You know, they did a really good story of Kenobi. I really loved it, and I think a Vader show could work on Disney Plus. I definitely think it could work. Maybe even introducing Starkiller. But yeah, I think obviously with a Vader show, not many people. I definitely think people would love to see a Vader show. I think it's a show about a character that, you know, Star Wars, not even some people that obviously like Star Wars but aren't big fans of Star Wars. Everyone knows who Darth Vader is, and he's just a menacing villain. He literally just doesn't care. You know, we saw in this show the brutal scenes with Vader in this show, in the Kenobi show. And I think they could do a lot more in a Vader show as well. You know, they could do how he got his lightsaber. You know, they've already disregarded canon in this Kenobi show already anyway. You know how Kenobi obviously leaves Tatooine. He never left. Well, that's what we knew before, but he has left in this show. And I definitely think a Vader show would definitely work if they did it right. I think, you know, him getting his lightsaber, they could set it 10 years, maybe 5 years before Kenobi, so 5 years after Revenge of the Sith. That could be the year, maybe in that timeline, that's when they actually go, or maybe in that space of time, that's how Vader, you know, gets his lightsaber. He goes on the hunt for, you know, Jedis, maybe even bring back the Grand Inquisitor for that show, maybe, because obviously he came from the temple. But I definitely think a Vader show could definitely work on Disney Plus. Now, obviously, the stuff that should not happen in this show, if it's going to be set after the Kenobi show, so say like 5 years after, obviously that would be the same time as Rebels going on, so they could do something with that. But I think it would make more sense if maybe they did it straight after Kenobi, so still in the 10-year time, like the time space, or they did it 5 years before the Kenobi show, because I think they could do a lot with doing 5 years before. Obviously, like I said, him hunting down Jedi, him trying to find Kenobi but not actually finding him, but on the way he might bump into other Jedis. You know, we found out in Kenobi that Quinlan Vos is still alive, so I think that there is definitely more Jedi. There's no way that the Jedi we only know, they're the only survivors. There are definitely more around the galaxy, and we found out in, you know, Jedi Fallen Order and many other things in Star Wars, we found out that there are more Jedi survivors. And I think with a Vader show, maybe even bring out Mace Windu. You know, it's the big talking point in Star Wars at the moment of Mace Windu coming back. You know, it was going around when the Book of Boba Fett came out, he could have returned in that. You know, people were saying in the Kenobi show as well, he could have even returned in this show, but he didn't. And I think the talk of him coming back could maybe make, I don't know, it could happen, Mace Windu coming back, but I wouldn't get our hopes up. It's not something that is definitely going to happen, because, you know, I think the Kenobi show would have been the perfect opportunity to bring him back. But if they did bring him back in a Vader show, I think it would be cool. A final showdown between Windu, Mace, and obviously Vader. Obviously Vader would have to win. But yeah, I just think a Vader show on Disney Plus could definitely work, and even bringing Starkiller in, that is something I'm sure every fan would love to see. You know, from the Force Unleashed games, he is overpowered, so they would have to probably bring down his power level, you know, a tiny bit. They'd have to bring him down a little bit, because he would be way too powerful for the Star Wars universe, and there would be no one stopping him, because, you know, Vader just kept on cloning Starkiller in the games, and then he just, you know, he's like his normal form when he was his apprentice, he was so overpowered. And I think that it definitely could work with Starkiller in some ways if they made him less powerful than he is in the games. You know, if they did it 5 years before as well, that is obviously set at the same time as Jedi Fallen Order, because Fallen Order is 5 years after Revenge of the Sith. So I think that that would be the same time as that. So, you know, they could possibly bring in Cal in this show, live action. There was recent reports going around that they have got an actor for a Cal Kestis, and they are making a live action show for him, but I think we'll talk about it in a separate video, because that is something that definitely excites the fans. But yeah, you know, also in a Vader show, they could do, you know, Vader's castle, stuff like that. You know, if they do a Kenobi show and then a Vader show as well, I think they can keep them both completely separate, because the Kenobi show, if they do a Kenobi season 2, I mean, then obviously at the end we saw Qui-Gon, so I think it's going to be more of Kenobi's journey now through, you know, Tatooine, because he's gonna get his hut that we see in A New Hope, obviously. So they could definitely do something in a season 2 of that, or his journey getting there. And I think in a Vader show, if it takes place, even if it does take place 5 years after, I think then that could maybe focus on Vader and Ahsoka, maybe. Like in Rebels, that we saw in Rebels, obviously, or they could just keep it in cartoon or form in Rebels and not use it as live action. I mean, they took a lot from that Rebels episode, Twilight of the Apprentice, and used it in the Kenobi finale for Vader. But I definitely think Vader show would definitely work. It's a concept that I'm sure many fans would love to see. I'll probably put a poll on the Instagram story later if you guys would like to see a Vader show. Obviously put yes or no. And yeah, I definitely think it could be a show that would definitely work. And you know, some fans probably won't want it, especially if Kenobi comes back in it. I don't think they should do that. The next time they should meet is obviously A New Hope. That should be it now. But 10 years later is when they see each other, because I don't think it would really make sense for the storyline and the canon, you know. Vader says, I haven't, like, a presence I haven't felt since, obviously 10 years before. It would make a lot of sense, and I think them just disregarding that would not make any sense for George Lucas's first 6 films, obviously, and obviously his Star Wars. I don't think it would be good for Star Wars, and the fans definitely would not like it. Us fans would not like if they did that, just redoing the original trilogy, kind of, and they're just disregarding it. I don't think they're going to do that. But I do think a Vader show is something that I would love to see, and I'm sure you guys would love to see too. Tell us down below if you would. But I think it's definitely something that Lucasfilm have in mind, or Disney have in mind, whatever. Especially after the Kenobi show. Vader is an intriguing character for everyone. Everyone wants to find out more about him. You know, in this show, in Kenobi, he's not as powerful as we see him in you know, Rogue One and the original trilogy. But I think in a Vader show, if they did do it 5 years after, or maybe even 5 years before, because 5 years before, it would be a lot more Anakin in there as well, like now, because like I said in the previous video, Anakin's still lurking in there. That's probably the main reason why he lost the fight. And I think that if we go back 5 years before that, I definitely think we could see the big conflict between Anakin and Vader. You know, the hatred is still there. Like, there's going to be a lot of hatred in him, but the conflict is going to be strong as well. And I think that, yeah, I think a Vader show could definitely work. It just depends what time space they're going to do it in. Maybe 5 years after Kenobi show, 5 years before. I'm not too sure, but definitely both of them could work. I think 5 years before would make more sense. But even if they did 5 years after, depending what they did with it, I think it would still be cool. And I think for a Kenobi season 2, which I'll probably go into more, I think if they did a villain for that, I think they can maybe make it Maul. You know, in Rebels, that's how Maul dies. Maybe they can make that into live action, but we'll have to wait and see. So yeah, if you guys did enjoy this video today, please like, subscribe. Tell me down below what you think of a Vader show on Disney Plus. I think it is a cool concept, like I said before, but tell us down below. I'd love to know what you guys think. I hope you have a good day, and I'll see you in the next one.